Hello, my name is Michael Parker, and welcome to episode 6 of Antidote. We spend a third of our life asleep. Those hours, we don't just sleep, we dream. Where do we go when we dream? Who do we meet? That's going to be the topic of today's discussion. We're going to be speaking with internationally renowned author and paranormal researcher, Rosemary Ellen Guiley. She has 60 books to her credit, including these two on dreams of 6. One is Dream Messages from the Afterlife, and the other is Dreamwork for Visionary Living. Rosemary, welcome to the show.
It sure is a pleasure to be with you, Michael.
It's good to see you again.
Indeed it is.
I have, in full disclosure, I've known Rosemary for a while, and I've interviewed you for a few times, and we've been in the field together, so I'm really glad to see you. Dreams are a subject that I find fascinating, and I think that a lot of people do. I think some people may give dreams short shrift, because you point out in the book, we're looking for truth. A lot of us are looking for truth. We're looking for that connection to source energy or the creator or God. When we go to sleep, what happens?
Amazing things happen when we sleep because we are in a state of consciousness that is unbounded by physicality, space, and time. We can go anywhere, and we do every night when we sleep. Many people don't pay attention to their dreams because they don't make sense. And yet dreams do make sense. If you take the time to understand them, they make the ultimate sense in terms of the truth about you, your life, and what you're doing with your life. So it's very important to pay attention to dreams. Many of our dreams are about daily life concerns, and other kinds of dreams really take us out into the cosmos, into the astral plane, where we have encounters with the dead, encounters with all kinds of beings, angels, spiritual guides and masters. We have incredible out-of-body experiences. We can even have a direct contact with God. Dreams are a hotline to God.
When we go to sleep, in the very beginning, there's, what do they call it, the hypnagogic state, the light sleep at the beginning? Is that the name for it?
Yes, that's the stage where we're going into sleep.
Okay. And then, but we don't actually start dreaming until the REM state, the REM state, is that correct?
Well, actually, we do dream throughout the night. There are stages of sleep when we're in the deepest stages where we are in dreamless sleep. But when we're falling asleep, we have certain kinds of dreams. And many people experience as they're kind of drifting off, kind of jumbled up scenes and visions and faces. That's very characteristic of that. It's like a party line going on in the background. Mm-hmm. And as we get into our stages of sleep, and we go through sleep cycles in about 90-minute intervals, mm-hmm. we enter REM state, rapid eye movement, and non-REM state. And we have different kinds of dreams in both of those states. A lot of our dreaming takes place in rapid eye movement. And we have dreams about really how we feel, how we're doing in life. And we also have dreams during the non-REM stages of sleep. And then we go way down into the deepest stages of sleep where we are dreamless. And this is where it is believed that a lot of healing takes place in the body. And as we come back up, we hit more non-REM and REM stages. And then we go into the last stage before waking. That's called hypnopompic sleep. And again, you're into this jumbled up kind of imagery and voices. Some of our dreams can seem like they go on forever. You know, I call them kitchen sink dreams. They seem to be entire movies with an incredible cast and very detailed, and people often remember incredible detail, and then others are just very short. They're fragments, snippets. They don't seem to have a beginning, middle, or end. They don't make sense. They're very easy to forget unless we do something about it.
You mentioned that first state when we're drifting into sleep. I just thought it's why you were saying this. One of the things that used to happen to me a lot, and you mentioned the cycles that we go through, like sometimes we'll remember our dreams quite a bit for a while or we won't. One of the things that used to happen to me in the initial stages of going to sleep is I would hear my mother call my name, Michael, and it would be in her voice. It was, I don't know, it would always catch me off guard, and I think that, do you guys call that a hypno jerk or something where, is that the word for it? Where there could be loud crashes or certain things happen that kind of bring you out for a second, because I would hear it and I'll go through periods of time where I hear it a lot and then I won't.
And also this stage of sleep is actually the entry point for some very dramatic out-of-body experiences. If you can train yourself to stay in that stage for prolonged periods and not actually fall into the deeper sleep stages, you can project yourself out of body in very dramatic ways. Now, in a sense, we always go out of body when we dream because our consciousness is out exploring the landscape, the space-time landscape. We're beyond physical reality, beyond the bounds of the body, and we can have all kinds of encounter experiences. Most of our dreams really are about us, and they mirror to us how we really feel we're doing in life. So they're going to contain material and imagery from daily life, and reflect it back to us in a way that tells us whether life is in balance or life is not. And then there are other kinds of dreams that are psychic in nature. We see the future. We might even have past life recall in dreams. And there's a spiritual component to dreams. We can be healed profoundly in our dreams, mentally, spiritually, physically. We can have these encounter experiences with God and with high-level spiritual beings. We can be out in landscapes that aren't just fantasy images of otherworldly places. They're real otherworldly places because we are out traveling beyond the earth. So the more attention we pay to dreams, the more material our dreams give back to us to enrich our lives, expand our consciousness, and enlighten us and deepen our wisdom.
Rosemary, one of the things that you mentioned in the book is the 3 types of dreams that we have. I think a lot of people just generalize a dream is a dream is a dream. It's weird, I forget it or I remember it. But you mentioned there's actually 3 types, and I'm hoping that you can explain to our audience a little bit of what that is. There's the personal level, there's the archetypal level, and then there is the transpersonal level.
And a single dream may have all 3 of those aspects in it because dreams are often like onions. They have layers and layers and layers to them, and they mean different things in different areas of life. Most of our dreams, as I mentioned, are personal. They deal with situations in daily life, our stresses, our anxieties, how we're facing crises. When we come upon important crossroads in life or big decision, dreams will address those and our concerns around those issues. So that's the personal level. And they will take content from daily life, the things you did yesterday, the movie you saw last night, the people you work with, your friends and family, almost like drawing from a photographic album of your life. And then there's another level, and that's the archetypal level, and that's where we start to get lifted up to a bigger perspective. Archetypes are images that contain a vast cosmic meaning of things. For example, a tree is not just a tree, it's not just the tree from your backyard, but it is a symbol of the axis that connects the subconscious to consciousness to the higher consciousness. Or it's a family tree. Or it's a cosmic tree that branches out into all of cosmos and that we are rooted in it. And some dreams really do have this kind of theme or imagery where we find ourselves in situations that seem to be much larger than life, where we're getting some sort of information through the dream about our place in the cosmic scheme of things. Then the transpersonal level is about change. It's about our deepening spirituality, our increasingly enlightened consciousness about who we are, not only as people, but as souls traveling the journey of life, and how that also fits into the greater scheme of things. Transpersonal dreams often come at times of crises, when we're really challenged to pull ourselves up to another level of awareness, or we're struggling against tremendous odds, fighting for our very survival on some level, and we have to call on our great inner depths in order to meet the challenges.
Do you think it's possible, you mentioned that these dreams, the transpersonal dreams, come in times of great transition. So that could be a personal transition, or it could be the transition that we all face as a civilization. Are there times where masses of us have the similar dream at the same time, say before 9/11 or some type of event like that?
There certainly are, Michael, and there's ample evidence that this has taken place throughout history. we have the power of united consciousness, and we're getting increasing scientific evidence of that, the power of collective thought. In fact, it has been postulated in the dream literature that our dreams are necessary for human survival, that it's not just about us, but it's about our part in the greater collective, and if we don't dream, we don't participate in this united consciousness in a very powerful way. Before major events, especially using the 9/11 example, there are indications that people are having the same kinds of dreams. After 9/11, for example, dream organizations, and I was very involved at the time in the International Association for the Study of Dreams, we received thousands of emails from people who said they had dreamed the disaster. Now, no one seems to have dreamed the entire event. Like, no one had a dream that on such a date at such a time, terrorists would send planes into the World Trade Center, would crash in Pennsylvania and crash into the Pentagon. But people had pieces of the disaster. We received a lot of dreams that people had, usually within a few days or a couple of weeks, of planes crashing into tall buildings crumbling and falling down, people running in mass panic, something like nuclear ash falling all over the landscape, which is what happened when the Trade Center fell. Chaos, people suffering, screaming, falling out of buildings. There were elements of the physical events that happened that showed up early in dreams. And we do get these previews of major events to come. And when something that shakes the world, shakes united consciousness, happens, the early waves of that event go out and start hitting people in the dream time. We have evidence through history of people previewing assassinations, other natural disasters, major things like war and conflict that break out, or an earthquake, all kinds of things that people will pick up on in advance of their actual happening, which then brings up the question, is there a fixed destiny, or are we really in a field of probabilities? Can we alter these events?
Wow.
And well, I do have an answer for that.
I'm ready.
My personal theory is that we live in a field of probabilities all the time. And at any given time, when we try and look into the future, we're looking into a probable outcome of forces in motion. And that continues to change. But when you have big cataclysmic events, I believe that there is a point where the forces in motion become fixed, like an airplane taking off. When an airplane takes off on a roll, there's a point where the pilot has to lift up. And that's what happens with these major events, that the forces in motion that are focused on culminating in this event are so far along, so far in place, that event's going to happen. And that's when we start to get the previews in our dreams.
I like that better than, I like the probability aspect better than destiny. For some reason, destiny seems like there's this great, intricate framework that underlies everything, which I'm not completely satisfied with. But the probability, I certainly understand. One of the things that you say in the book that I thought was fascinating is the heart of the dream is a real experience that takes place in another reality.
This especially applies to our psychic and spiritual dreams. All dreams take place in another reality. They do draw up material from the subconscious and from the churn of our thoughts and emotions throughout the day, but they do take place in another reality. And for dreams that are deeply meaningful on a spiritual level or help us go through a crisis, this is the heart of the dream, and the experience takes place in another reality where we are likely to see something, experience something, or commune with a presence or a being or even a dead loved one that brings things into a powerful focus or realization that we can't get any other way. And in fact, the ancients really understood the power of dreams, that they are a bridge between our reality and literally the land of the gods. Plato called them the between state. and said that dreams are a place that we go. We don't have dreams, we go to dreams, or something takes us to the dreaming environment where we have these experiences which are either very difficult in waking consciousness or even impossible.
That's as good a segue as I can think of, because the next thing I wanted to ask you about was kind of two-pronged, which is, one is the out-of-body experience where we do astral travel or we move away from our physical body during sleep, but also, I think before we go to that, how do dreams compare to near-death experiences? Because in the near-death experience, we are leaving the body, supposedly, and moving towards light. How do those compare? And also, say, hallucinogenic experiences where one is outside of their body. Are these similar? Are they dissimilar?
They have quite a few similarities and share a lot of common traits. In a sense, we're out of body whenever we dream, although sometimes we have a very dramatic sense of being out of the body, or we can even feel ourselves projected out of the body while we are dreaming. And we have an awareness that this is happening in a dream state. We're lucid. We know we're dreaming while we're dreaming. There are certain kinds of dreams, for example, dream visits from the dead, that have a lot of similarities to near-death experiences. Now, these are dreams where we've lost a loved one, and of course when you lose a loved one, you're grieving, you often wish for a reunion. You know, one last time you'd like to know that person is all right. And many people have real experienced dreams where they are in another environment. They feel themselves go to another environment or be projected to another environment outside of reality, that is this bridge world where they can have a real reunion. And the reunions have all the effects of being physically real. The dead person can be touched, there's communication, usually it's telepathic, however, not verbal. They often appear very radiant and refreshed, especially if they've been ill. And the person awakens from these experiences feeling like they've had a real meeting. Mm-hmm. And it's so confusing to them because how could that be? The person has passed on. Mm-hmm. It's possible in the dream world. Then there are other kinds of dreams where, as I mentioned earlier, during that early stage of sleep, you can train yourself to not completely fall asleep, but literally project your consciousness out of the body and go traveling in the astral plane or visit distant places on Earth. I taught myself how to do that when I was in high school. And while I'm not a regular out-of-body projector, like some people can do it very fluidly and easily, I have done it enough to know that it is quite a real experience. You can visit distant places, observe them, come back, and validate the accuracy of what you have seen and visited. And one of the greatest travelers like that was Robert Monroe. He was an American broadcaster who began having spontaneous out-of-body experiences, getting projected into this lucid dream state while he was falling asleep. And as he paid more attention to it, he began to realize that there were certain characteristics that seemed to enhance his ability to do that. So he developed techniques for going out of body. And he did quite a bit of astral traveling, wrote 3 books where he was literally mapping the afterlife and the dream world. And he said that he divided them into locales, and that the locale closest to us concerned our daily dreams and concerns. And the further out we went, we're getting into more of these transpersonal areas. Mm-hmm. And he said it was like a vast ocean, like looking into eternity, that there were even regions that were incomprehensible to us and that perhaps we hadn't even explored.
In the book, you mentioned that you spent time at his Monroe Institute.
I did, yes. It's in Virginia, and they have various programs for training you to extend your consciousness. And they're not programs that like guarantee you to have quote-unquote out-of-body experiences where you feel yourself projected out of the body, although that does happen, but to expand your consciousness to more refined levels where you can perceive these alternate realities. So you are literally projecting your consciousness like a dream would project your consciousness to the afterlife, to the spiritual realm, to higher realms where unknown beings exist, and even the presence of God. So I took their beginning program. It's a week-long program. And it's a total immersion experience. It was wonderful. They take away your watch, your cell phone. You're not to have any sense of time because you are trying to disrupt your normal rhythm to free the bounds of consciousness.
You're beyond time.
Exactly. So we might have sessions late at night or throughout the day, and we would get together as a group and have some tutorial lessons. Then we would retire to our rooms where each of us had like a bunk bed with curtains and headphones. And we would receive instruction for projecting our consciousness into these other realities. Now, what was played over the headphones was music, sort of like meditation music, but it was embedded with hemisync, which was Monroe's patented technology, including...
Which sounds like binaural beats or something.
It was, and it is. It's binaural beats that balance the right and left hemisphere of the brain, and when the two hemispheres are balanced, it's believed to be much easier to project yourself out of body. It was an absolutely phenomenal week.
When you're describing this, it also sounds like remote viewing as well, and I wonder if some of the methods that he created might work with remote viewing to tune in, because either way, you're projecting yourself into a location or trying to find out information about a location. When I was a kid, and I've mentioned this to you before, when I saw you recently at the Conscious Life, and this still happens to me. And this is one of the reasons I wanted to ask about out-of-body experiences and astral travel. I would have a dream, and my earliest memory of this happening was as a very young child, I'm going to say 4th, 5th grade or something. But I dreamed of a 3-story red brick building that looked like an institution of some sort, and promptly forgot about it. And this has happened to me many times since then. In the 6th grade, one summer, I went to band camp, as all nerds do. And guess what? That building was there. It was on the grounds of a university within my state of Texas that they hosted this camp at. And since then, this has happened to me many, many times over, and it doesn't really seem to have any particular reason. And the thing that really interests me about it is I don't remember the dream until I see the place. So in deja vu, you know, you and I have this discussion and I feel like, oh, we've done this before, but a lot of times when I've had this sensation, and they're random places, they're not places that seem to have a great deal of importance. That one did because it was a place I went to, it was the first time I think I'd ever been on a college campus. But so, I mean, that must be some form of astral travel, right?
Well, it is, and it's also precognition. And I call these dreams little precognitions, not because they're unimportant, but they're not big disaster dreams. We, culturally, we associate precognitive dreams with disasters because those are the ones that get the most attention. But all of us have these precognitive time sweeps when we dream. And it is quite common to preview something that you are going to be doing, something of significance to you usually, because there's an emotional investment in it, and dreams are, they run on emotional energy. That is their electricity. So it's not unusual to preview something that you're going to be doing the next day or the next week, and in your case, it was a ways off in the future.
Yes.
But it was something that it was a probable future that was shaping up for you, and if I could project onto your dream a little bit, probably was tied into the emotions you had about the ambitions you wanted to realize in life, your excitement about doing something like that you could even imagine and conceive of at an earlier age. And so all of these factors come together to give you a glimpse of something that is going to unfold at the right time. And so dreams do become not only a way of remote viewing places around the earth or places in the astral, but remote viewing the future. And in fact, many remote viewers have gone through the Monroe program.
It is remarkable. I mean, this event still happens to me to this day. Most recently it happened, my eldest daughter, we're thinking about various high schools that she will go to. And I had a dream months and months and months ago about this place. I wasn't sure what it was. I thought it was a school. The other day I drove past, now the skeptic could say, Michael, you logged this in your mind and forgot about it, which is possible. The other day I drove by this school, which is very close to us and it's very expensive. And I realized, wow, the back part of this school is the vision that I had in my head. I digress, but it's happened so many times in my life that I'm fascinated by the idea of it.
Some people have this ability to preview things very well and frequently, and for others it happens fewer times. Dreams seem to be a very diverse playing field, but the thing is, all of us can train ourselves through paying attention to dreams and even practicing certain techniques to encourage certain kinds of dreams. We can all improve the way we dream. And for example, I know people who are proficient lucid dreamers. They lucid dream every night, multiple lucid dreams. They remember all the details. And I will have a lucid dream every now and then, but not as frequently as them. And for them, it's a natural ability. So it might be, in your case, you have the natural ability to have this sort of remote viewing preview. And for other people, that might only happen a few times.
In Rosemary's book, Dreamwork for Visionary Living, I believe there's 37 labs in here.
Yes, 37 labs that will help you dream for creativity, healing, precognition, past lives, meeting God, working your way through transition points. Shared dreaming, that's another thing that we really don't practice much in our culture because we're not aware of it. And shared dreaming is where you have the same dream as another person or a group of people.
Simultaneously?
Simultaneously. Wow. Although there are time displacements, whereas one thing might happen on one night and one on another. But in shared dreaming, there are different levels to that, where two people can, for example, two people might have the identical dream, or they might have the same kind of dream with each other in it. They might have the same dream where they recognize each other, it's lucid, or they might just have the same theme dream with similar elements in the dream and similar descriptions. Cultures that practice sharing dreams, talking about dreams in a community fashion, we find that these elements are much more common than in cultures like ours where we keep our dreams to ourselves.
We not only keep our dreams to ourselves, we're getting less and less sleep. And we have our phones beside our bed. We go to bed reading our phones. We wake up checking our emails. We sleep less because we're trying to make more money. We're working longer. And I was going to save this till the end because I wanted to touch upon the healing at the end, but dreams are this vast resource that we get nowhere else in our life, and it kind of gets short shrift. It's just looked upon, I think, largely as this odd, unusual thing that happens.
The ancients gave great importance to dreams. There were professional dream interpreters to help people. There were places you could go to incubate dreams, that is, ask dreams to happen to be healed, or dreams for prophecy. And unfortunately, in the advent of Christianity, as Christianity took over the pagan world, these practices were discouraged, which is natural considering one religion is replacing another.
Sure.
But dreams were never given very much credence officially in Christianity. They were even denigrated and classed with sorcery and witchcraft and illusion. And since the late 19th century, since the advent of psychotherapy, we've had a return of the dream and the importance of the dream and the importance of paying attention to dreams. We cannot pay enough attention to dreams because they are the way our higher self talks to us, the way God talks to us quite often, and they will always give us the truth about how we feel we're doing in life. Many times we have anxieties that are not founded or grounded well, but we have the anxieties anyway, and the dreaming mind will reflect that back to us. When life really gets out of balance, like say for example, a person is in a dead-end job and there's no enthusiasm about working anymore, but the person doesn't want to do anything about it or may not want to know. Well, the dream is going to come and express this imbalance in some sort of way, some sort of intense symbolic way. And the longer this imbalance is ignored, the more extreme the dreams are going to get, even to a nightmare standpoint. And once we bring life back into balance, then these dreams will abate, they will cease. So we need to pay attention to our dreams, and if we're having stressful dreams, dreams that are troubling to us, it's an indication that we're out of balance somewhere.
When you mentioned that in some cases the deceased visit us, and everyone's lost someone, you mentioned in one of your books that you had a dream with your father shortly after his death. Can you talk about that?
Yes, it was a real dream visit, and it's quite often that within a couple of weeks after someone passes, we may have a dream where we're reassured that they're okay, or we're helping them with unfinished business. And in the case of my father, I felt that I had a dream meeting with him to help him make his transition to the afterlife, wrap up the physical life and go on into the afterlife. You know, Michael, none of us ever makes that transition feeling like we've finished off our bucket list, we've completed our calendar, there's nothing more to be done. We all leave unfinished business. And for my dad, that was very stressful. He's a busy guy. He's retired, but he was a very busy guy, and he died suddenly. He died on an operating table from an aneurysm, and I was almost 3,000 miles away. So I never had the chance for closure. And that is a factor, too, in having these kinds of dreams. But about 2 weeks after he died, I had a dream where I was with him in the living room of the house that I grew up in. And he was sitting in his favorite chair, and I was in a chair opposite him, and we're looking at each other. And in my mind, I know that Dad is dead, and I know that Dad knows he's dead, and that Dad knows that I know. So that's out in the open. And I say to him, "Dad, what are you doing here? You can't be here, you're dead." And he starts to grumble about how he didn't get to finish this and didn't get to finish that, and wasn't ready to go yet. And so we have this conversation where, and when I woke up, I didn't remember the specifics of it, just the general tone of it, that I convinced him that he just had to let all that go and go on into the afterlife. And at the end of the dream, I see him going off into the distance into a building. And it was like Dad going to work again. You know, that's the feeling I had at the dream. When I woke up, I felt that I had not had just a dream, or a wishful thinking dream, or a grieving dream. I'd had a real meeting with my dad because it was so physical, and the awareness of Dad being dead. And I felt that I had done something to help my father. Well, the interesting verification for that came from my mother, actually years later. And my mom had a lot of psychic ability. She didn't like to talk about it much because for her it was unsettling. But we were talking about Dad once, and she shared that for about 2 weeks after he died, she could feel him in the house. And she could feel his presence, she could even see his presence. It was kind of like an electrical kind of energy. And she was wondering like, why are you still here? But she would never get an answer. And she said, after 2 weeks, he suddenly went away and never came back. And that was when I had the dream with Dad. And so it coincided. And I thought, this for me was extra validation that I had had a genuine experience.
When you describe this, there's going to be many people in the audience who are going to say, you know what, I wish that I'd had that last chance. I wish that my loved one came to me in a dream. And you talk about that in the book, because in this book, The Dream Messages from the Afterlife, you discuss so many types of messages that the departed will give to us in our dreams. But why is it that we don't all get to share in that?
We don't know exactly why not everyone gets certain kinds of dreams. It may have to do with hardwiring in the brain, the way we dream. It may have to do with our states of consciousness. There's also unknown factors from the other side, that in order for this bridge to take place between the physical world and the afterlife, there has to be an impetus and an energy and a connection from the other side and from our side. And we don't know how difficult it is and what it takes to make that bridge. And in fact, sometimes the dead who have managed to get through to one of these bridge areas, meeting places, they've communicated that they can't stay long. They have to make it quick. It took a lot of energy and effort to make this happen, and so they've got a message to give, and then they have to leave. And it seems that no matter how much we ourselves might want it, we might not be able to have the right USB for the right port, so to speak. And that can be very difficult for some people. However, the dead can give us many kinds of reassurances. The most common kind of afterlife visit dream is the reassurance. I'm okay, don't worry, please don't grieve for me, I am okay. Well, it's impossible not to grieve when you've lost someone. But these dreams can be very powerful healing experiences that help people overcome their grief, often in ways conventional therapy cannot address as well. And then we have unfinished business dreams. We have farewell dreams, and these are often had at the time somebody is leaving. If a person dies while we are sleeping and they are able to come and give us a farewell, we'll have those kinds of dreams, and we might not even know that they're gone or that they're in the process of dying until we wake up and get the news. Even animals can communicate as they pass over. Many dramatic examples of that. But there are things we can do to make our chances better for these kinds of dreams. We can invite these kinds of dreams in dream meetings through a practice called dream incubation, where we focus on a desired result and ask for a meeting and program the dreaming mind, instruct the dreaming mind before we go to sleep to have this kind of encounter. Now, it does have to be purposeful, because the dead have also communicated that if we ask too often, if we constantly pull them back through our grief or our constant wanting to have contact with them, it becomes an impediment to them, an energetic impediment to them in the afterlife. So they want us to know that they're okay. They're always close to us. They always love us. They're always with us. And even though we may feel separated by an incredible gulf, it's one that's actually smaller than we might think. The dead can also come and give us reassurances in other ways. And this will often happen as a result of dream incubation. We might not have a dream, but we might get a meaningful synchronicity, a sign that we know beyond doubt comes from that person. So many ways to get the reassurance we want. It may not come in the manner we want, but we will get that reassurance.
Well, another thing you tackle in dreamwork for visionary living, which I'm fascinated about, is using our dreams to solve problems. Or if you're an artist or a business person, you want to create something. And there's the famous story about Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones. He created the satisfaction riff supposedly in a dream. I think he kept a tape player by his bed, dun, 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 and he woke up the next morning and he had played it at some point during his sleep. And I think that you mentioned people like Billy Joel, I think, had written songs from their dreams. But I've noticed for myself that I get the most work done on creative projects in the morning. Like, I'll go to bed at night and I just can't think about something anymore, and I don't know where to go. Sometimes with this show, like, my God, what am I going to ask these folks? And in the morning, I'll be at the gym on the treadmill, listening to my music or whatever, or I'll be sitting at my computer, and it seems like my brain has come up with ideas overnight, even if I don't remember a dream attached to it.
That's exactly what happens to a lot of people. We do a tremendous amount of creative processing while we sleep and dream. And if we give ourselves a little instruction through dream incubation, we make dreaming even more productive, because the dreaming mind will address that. And you might not have an actual dream where you get the inspiration or the answer to your question and the solution to your problem, but you'll know it when you wake up, or it will sort itself out as you go through waking consciousness. The processing, which is the important part, has been done while you sleep and dream. So we have many examples throughout history of all kinds of artistic creations that have come out of dreams. Paul McCartney said that he had a dream about his song Yesterday, and when he woke up, he could hear it completely, entirely in his head, to the point where he thought, well, someone else must have written this because it's so complete. And yet it came from a dream. Writers have gotten inspiration for their characters, their books, while they sleep. Scientists have gotten solutions to knotty problems, to inventions. People have been healed in their dreams. It's absolutely amazing what comes out of the creative dreaming.
I like that idea because that's something that sometimes I'll be at my wit's end on something and I can't think how to go further with something, and then the next morning by just you won't have an epiphany, but at least you'll have a direction. Wow, I can build on that. I can go to the next level. Before we get to healing, which I think is fantastic, I do want to ask you about symbols, because I think when people think of dreams and they think of dream interpretation, they're like, okay, well, they're going to go down the Freud or the Carl Jung thing, and they're symbols. But we do need to talk about symbols. And one of the things that you discuss is colors can mean something, numbers can mean something, because people think, okay, the symbol as just being a symbol of an actual object, but there's these intangible things as well. What do colors mean and what do numbers mean?
They have objective meanings and subjective meanings, and that applies to all symbols as well. First, we have a personal association with symbols. We relate to something emotionally from our own experiences and beliefs, and so when we see that symbol, we have a certain response to it. Then there are these objective meanings of symbols, what they mean collectively. For example, red is often associated with, and there are positive and negative associations. Everything has both. So let's take the color red, for example. On a positive association, it's vitality, passion. On a negative, it's aggression, anger. And blue. Blue can mean spirituality, peace, calm, tranquility. It can mean sadness, depression, and feeling isolated, feeling blue, for example. So when we have colors in dreams that are dominant, that seem to have a very important place in dreams, we can often get a meaning out of them by applying our associations to the color. And then it also is within the context of the dream. How does that color play out in the dream as a symbol? Numbers, the same thing. We have in esotericism, numerical values have a frequency of vibration, so they have a quality to them. And number 1 is singularity, it's beginnings, it's the I, oneness. And 2 is duality, it's partnership, things coming together. 3 is like a triangle, it often means the ascent of consciousness, piercing into the spiritual planes, or something coming into being, which we see in folklore. Thrice times the charm, knock 3 times and it happens.
3 wise men.
3 wise men, 3 endeavors, 3 times you have to try. And so on it goes. And so we can apply those meanings to dreams, numbers in dreams as well. Now, strings of numbers, for example, an address in a dream might have a significance. It might relate to an address you've lived in or some other place of significance, and then that place becomes the energy point of symbology. Ages can have meanings. If the age of a person in a dream or yourself in a dream is significant, it could relate to yourself at that age. Or in some other context, it might relate to something that transpired, say, for example, 4 weeks ago, 4 days ago, 4 years ago. And all of this starts to fit into place when you look at the dream as a whole, and then you start taking it apart into its individual components and bringing it back together in a whole.
People have certain dreams that a lot of people have, the naked dream, the school dream, and I know that we're getting close to the end of our show, so I'm going to try to wrap this up, but there are those symbols which a lot of us experience, the falling dream.
These are common anxiety dreams that everybody has. Being naked in public often relates to fear of being exposed. It's natural to worry sometimes about, am I measuring up? Or do other people see my inadequacies or my shortcomings?
I dream about school a lot. I dream about grade school and college.
It would depend on the context of the dream. They could relate to those periods in life. And sometimes dreams are emotional trigger patterns that we might be undergoing a stress currently that we had at an earlier time that we reacted to in a similar way or a similar kind of stress. But oftentimes school represents being prepared because we study in school. We have to be prepared for tests. And so being in school might have to do with feeling prepared for whatever it is you're doing in life.
Understood. What I want to wrap this up with is the power of dreams to heal, because I think this is very inspirational. And certainly when we go to sleep, our body relaxes. Certain glands will secrete different hormones or fluids. But talk about healing and dreams.
Well, the body restores and regenerates itself every night in sleep, but we have many examples from ancient times forward that profound, even miraculous healings can take place during dreams. This is what the ancients really mastered at in terms of dreaming. They understood this power, and so temples were built all over the classical world. The ancient Greeks especially did this, where you would go, if you were sick, you would make a pilgrimage to one of these temples, and with the help of dream priests, you would dream to ask the gods of healing to come and heal you in the dream. And if you had a dream where the god or one of his totems, like a totem animal or person or associate, came and touched you in the dream, it meant you were healed. And there are many examples of testimonies where people say that they were healed. If you didn't get one of those dreams, then you hope for a dream in which you were given information about what to do next, prescriptions and advice and things like that. These dreams still continue today. Many cases where people have been diagnosed with tumors, for example, or they're facing some sort of surgery to like remove a tumor or a cyst or something. And they'll have a dream in which often a religious figure, a spiritual figure like an angel or a religious figure, for example, like a Mother Mary kind of figure, comes in the dream, and they will either take their hand, it's a touching sort of thing, or give them something like a glowing light or a crystal, and they have a spontaneous, miraculous remission where these things disappear, and the doctors can't explain it. It's just one of those odd cases that go into the medical literature of a spontaneous remission. But the healing has taken place in the dream. So here again, the question is, why don't these always happen? Mm-hmm. And we don't know. It would be good if we could reliably get dreams on demand that would bring this healing energy in. But it happens often enough to indicate that this is a potential that every single one of us has access to. So perhaps we're just not in an evolved enough state of consciousness to learn how to use the dream state to access these forces.
Rosemary, this has been a fantastic session. It's been very beautiful, and I appreciate you coming on. It's always good to see you, and I admire your work greatly. So are you going to write 100 books one day?
I expect to get there. I will be writing till the end of my days. I came out of the womb with a manuscript in progress, and I'll probably go out with one in progress.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the hardest working woman in paranormal, whatever we want to call this world that we're in. Thank you so much. Go out and get the books, you guys. Dreamwork for Visionary Living will teach you how to create it with your dreams. Dream Messages from the Afterlife. My name is Michael Parker. This has been Antidote. Thank you for joining us. If you like what we do here, please subscribe to our channels on YouTube. It is Lip TV and Lip TV 2, or you can go to my Facebook page, which is We Are Antidote. Until next week, we are the Antidote.